for Edmonton Centre, and I'm pleased to be the chair for the Edmonton region on outreach to make sure that we elect Travis as the next premier, leader of our party and premier of the province. And we've got several dignitaries here. I hate doing this because you're going to miss someone, but I'll do my very best here. We've got MLAs Tracy Allard, Cyril Turton, Shane Getson, Jason Luan, Mark Smith, and Dan Williams. We've got former MLA Dave Quested in the back. And former member of parliament, a good friend of mine, Laurie Hahn. And lastly, and not least, but one of my favorite people, because he was the mayor of the best city in the best province in the best country in the world, Bill Smith is here. So I'm really excited today, particularly on National Indigenous Day, to be able to introduce our first speaker, who's going to be introducing Travis more formally. And why are you here today? You are here because this is about leadership. This is about finding a leader and making sure that we get good leadership in good government. And I believe that Travis has that in spades. But we're also fortunate to have a community leader that has done so much for his people and for our community. It's fantastic that we have Billy Morin here, Chief Morin, to introduce Travis Toews. And Chief Morin, take the stage.
When Travis comes up, these are going to go up like this. So. Me and James are about the same height. No, I'm not Travis Toews' height either. Well, Tonse, Nuwaku Maganak, Katamska Tinawa, Gakyao, Natoki Tope Nitsigaso, and Maskeg Sioche. And what I said in my language was, my name is actually Sacred Rider, is my name, Chief Billy Morin of the Enoch Cree Nation. And wow, just feel the excitement in the room. And James, thank you for that introduction. Acknowledge all my conservative friends in the room tonight. How many people from here from just like Edmonton, like just Edmonton? Come on, louder, like Edmonton, yeah! You know, I think as Edmontonians, you know, when I actually spoke at Piercing, and my comment was there, this is not Edmonton. We still are conservatives. I would say this is, if not the still largest, it's actually probably the second largest, or 1B concentration of conservative family in Alberta, right here, right in the city of Edmonton. And we need a champion. We need a champion who can balance rural and urban centers, who can balance Edmonton and Calgary. We need a champion who listens. We need a champion who can go to the dinner table, but also be in the legislature and the corporate tables. And I think our next premier has proven that over and over again. We need a champion who can balance budgets. Give him a hand for that. You know, we know we're heading in a little bit of a different direction, and he was there to listen. What I challenged Travis to do was tell me on a vision, and tell me about your vision for Alberta. And he used the principles of conservatism and the history that we've built as conservatives in this province to do and show me a vision for the province. But I'm going to leave it up to him to say what his vision is. And I certainly believe in Travis. I endorse Travis to be our next premier. And it is my honor to introduce my friend, Travis Toews, your next premier of Alberta.
Wow. The conservative movement is alive and well in the capital region. Thank you all for taking time out of your evening, out of your schedule on this beautiful evening in June to come out for the Edmonton campaign kickoff. It is so appreciated. It's incredible to see so many people that have sacrificed their evening for this. I deeply appreciate your commitment to this movement. And thank you, Chief. Thank you for hosting us here today. It's so significant on Indigenous Peoples Day to actually have this event right here on the River Cree in the Enoch Cree Nation. It is so significant. And Chief, and let me say this, Chief Morin, I am absolutely honored and humbled with your endorsement of my leadership today. Friends, this is coming from a leader in his community, as sacrificially and humbly provided and demonstrated servant leadership as he served the people in his community on this great Cree nation, positioning this nation for economic growth, for prosperity, for opportunity, for community members today and for future generations. These are the values we share. His dedication to transparency and humility in leadership, his commitment to fiscal responsibility, and we heard that again tonight, and promoting economic development for the benefit of this community now and for the generations to come. Again, these are the values we share. Thank you, Chief Morin. I need to note, Chief Morin is transitioning. He has served for 7 years. I believe stepping into this great position of leadership at the very young age of 28. That is so significant and providing sound, wise leadership for this community and for this nation. Again, thank you, Chief. That is truly inspiring. And I do want to extend my congratulations to the newly elected Chief Cody Thomas and wish Chief Thomas every success in his new role as well. Kim and I are 3 children and, yes, 11 grandchildren, are proud Albertans. We're lifelong Albertans. We've had an incredible opportunity to pursue careers and business interests and raise a family in a province of possibility and prosperity, a province where the ideals of freedom and self-determination are held in high regard. And until 2019, had been spent entirely in the private sector. I'm a CPA by profession. I spent almost a dozen years in public practice, thoroughly enjoyed it, but the entrepreneurial pull was great. Like many of you, we were pulled into our family businesses. We're thankful we were. And since then, my wife Kim and I have grown and managed a family catching operation and environmental services company as well in the Grand Prairie region, and we've felt so privileged to do so. I've served on a number of provincial and national industry boards, including as president of the Canadian Cattlemen's Association following BSE. There's been a motion in this province the last 2 years. There was a motion in that industry following that event. But I did all of this as so many conservatives do. You know, with our head down, raising our family, pursuing our business interests, and not really paying attention to government. Quite frankly, the best day was the day I didn't notice government. As a conservative, that was the best day. I just took good government for granted. And friends, that all changed in 2015. All of a sudden, when this province made a sharp left turn, I sat up and took note because I was concerned that the opportunity, the freedom, the prosperity that my family had enjoyed, perhaps even taken for granted, may not be there for the next generation. And so I got, like many of you, I got involved in the Conservative Unity effort, starting at the grassroots. And you know, well, 8 or 10, a dozen, then 20 of us met in Grand Prairie. This was the really great part. I found that there were groups like this meeting right across the province. All kinds of folks who had never paid attention to politics were sitting up and taking note and asking the question, what do we need to do as a movement to ensure that we can provide the same opportunities for the next generation that we'd been afforded? And I know certainly for our group, and I know for tens of thousands of others, it was about unity for conservative-minded Albertans. So like many of you, I stepped up to work on the unity movement, but then I stepped up also to throw my hat in the ring as a candidate in the 2019 election. And it was certainly a privilege to form government and an additional honor for me to serve Albertans as the Minister of Finance and President of the Treasury Board. And since 2019, we've implemented an ambitious platform of reform, including positioning Alberta's economy for exceptional growth, diversification, job creation, and putting this province on a sustainable fiscal trajectory. The results of our economic reforms have been self-evident. Most banks are predicting that Alberta will lead the nation this year and next in real GDP growth. Our unemployment rate is the lowest it's been since early days 2015. And for the first time in over a decade, we presented a balanced budget. And I might add, we used a $70, $69, and $66 in terms of our energy assumptions in this budget, not the $100 we're seeing today. So folks, that's good news with respect to potential surplus positions for the people of Alberta. We suspended the provincial fuel tax, recognizing that affordability is the #1 issue facing Albertans today and many small business owners today. We helped Albertans offset rising electricity costs and introduced a cap on gas consumers, so all natural gas consumers in the province can benefit from an owned resource. We've created agencies like the Alberta Indigenous Opportunities Corporation to ensure that access to capital is not a barrier to partnerships in energy, transportation, agriculture, or telecommunications projects. And we reduced our corporate tax rate and created the most business-friendly jurisdiction in the country, leading to a flood of investment pouring into this province, economic growth, and expanded fiscal capacity. And friends, that expanded fiscal capacity means so much to the delivery of important services in this province, such as healthcare and education. Because you know what? We're projecting that the government will actually raise more corporate tax revenue at an 8% rate than the previous government did at 12%. That shows the strength of an increasing strong economy in this province. But there's been more. We've reached agreements with our great public sector workers in this province, with nurses, with healthcare staff, with teachers, without labor stoppages or disruptions, providing stability in these essential services. And while bringing fiscal discipline to this province, we've increased spending in healthcare and education, which are so critical to Albertans from corner to corner. And I do want to pause to just acknowledge the great contribution that many of our public sector workers have made in the last 2 years. I think of teachers and especially nurses and frontline healthcare staff. So many have gone above and beyond the call of duty to serve Albertans sacrificially and at great cost. And for that, I extend my gratitude of thanks. Now, while we've made significant progress on a number of fronts, the pandemic has been an incredibly challenging time. In meeting with Albertans all across the province, I've heard heartbreaking stories of so much loss experienced in so many ways. In many communities and in families and businesses, the feelings of grief and deep frustration continue to linger. Division has crept into our communities, our businesses, and in some cases, tragically, even our families. There's not been a time in this generation when healing and reunification have been so necessary across society and certainly within this conservative movement as well. 5 years ago, Alberta's grassroots conservative movement united under one banner, focusing on the principles we hold in common: responsible fiscal management, individual freedom, and limited government. And this great conservative movement must once again focus on the values that unite us instead of the issues that divide. You know, the passionately held principles of conservatives have sometimes made peaceful coexistence within a large and diverse party uneasy and occasionally fractious. But while that significant diversity comes with unique challenges, I believe it is also what makes us fit to govern. We must lead with strength and humility and return to the values that define us. It's imperative that we take time to listen to our members and to all Albertans, and we must learn from our missteps. Now, there are some who believe they no longer have a place in this great conservative movement, feeling wrongly characterized, labeled, or perhaps disregarded. And to those who feel disenfranchised, I want to extend a call home. We're better together and so much stronger in our unity. Since forming government 3 years ago, even as we face the seemingly overwhelming challenges of the pandemic and the largest energy price collapse really in history, certainly modern history, in spite of those challenges, we've taken a province that was on a downward economic and fiscal spiral. And by holding fast to our principles, we've set Alberta on a new path. We've balanced the budget and put Alberta on a sustainable fiscal trajectory of growth, opportunity, and hope. We will no longer undermine our long-term ability to care for the most vulnerable. We will no longer spend more than we make, and we will no longer burden future generations with a debt they did not incur. I believe stable, responsible, strategic leadership is critical to the well-being of our province. We cannot afford to see the gains that we've made erased, and we must prove what I wholeheartedly believe, that when we go to the polls next spring, we are unequivocally and without doubt the best option for Albertans and for the future of this great province. Now, it's an incredible honor to have the support of so many of my fellow MLAs. Many of them are here today, and thank you for taking the time, making the trip to be here. Together, we reflect the great diversity of the province and this conservative movement. Some of us are rural, some are urban. Some hail from the north, some from the capital region, some from central Alberta, some from Calgary, and some from the south. Some are cabinet ministers, some are have previously served as cabinet ministers, but most are MLAs, like me, who are new to government since 2019. They bring a fresh perspective, being fresh off the private sector. They bring great ambition and a deep commitment to the people of Alberta. Thank you for serving. Now, we don't agree on everything, but we absolutely agree on what matters, and those are those deep conservative principles that bind us together, the principles of fiscal responsibility, the principle of individual freedom and liberty, and the principle of limited government. Now, as conservatives, we know that the only path forward is through unity. And as I look around this room, I believe it's the beginning right now, reflected in my colleagues in the diversity of cultures and experiences represented here today. We're committed to unity. We're moving forward in unity. We're securing a future for the next generation because tonight we stand united. I believe in servant leadership, and I believe in humility as a guiding principle in government. And I fundamentally trust Albertans. Together we hold the answers for the challenges that we will inevitably face. And so my invitation to all conservative-minded Albertans is this. Let us seize this moment, this opportunity to step into the next chapter of our history united, laying aside our differences to focus on our shared vision, a hopeful future for our children and grandchildren on the foundation of a free and prosperous Alberta. Thank you, and God bless Alberta.
Well, folks, that's what leadership looks like. Again, thank you, Travis. Thank you so much for running. Travis is going to take a